Hello everybody, here we are with Fruitful Trees at Mounts Botanical Gardens, and they work with the University of Florida IFAS Extension. And this place is right near my house. We're right across the street from the airport here in West Palm Beach. And I've been coming here for years. I've been living here for a long time. But today we have some people from the extension. We have John and we have Palmer. And they have a whole bunch of stuff in the garden about growing gardens and flowers, but I specifically am interested in the fruit trees. That's why we got Fruitful Trees. So John and Palmer are gonna show us around the fruit trees that they have here. How are you both doing?
Doing great, thank you. I'm actually the horticulturalist, one of the horticulturists from Mounts Botanical Garden. So I've been working with the trees pretty intimately for a little while now. And yeah, doing great. How are you, John?
I'm doing good. So yeah, so you see like there's all these entities here like that's attached to Mounts. And I guess like we'll just preface it with a little bit of history here that this site a long time ago was part of an experimental station with USDA and University of Florida, but it's kind of evolved over time, and it's maintained its roots with the University of Florida, but it's become a county property through the extension office. So there's partnerships all over the country. Almost any county that you go to, there'll be a partnership between local government and the county level with the state. And the idea here is that like different parts of the state are going to have different conditions environmentally, climatically, and so the university that is going to be dispensing the university is up in Gainesville in our state. The conditions there are dramatically different than like what we're encountering here locally, and so we'll showcase some of that here and why that's important. But the industry is for fruit trees and other horticultural industries are going to be quite different because of that, and we've got some pretty unique things going on that we're looking forward to show.
Very cool. And just so you know, if you didn't already hear, we're literally right in the pathway of the landing strip of the airport. So if you hear some planes in the background, that's what it is. And we're also in the front here, there's some highway traffic. Now, before we even go into the trees, how much does the planes and the fuel and the planes going back and forth, does that affect when people grow food at all in any way? If somebody's growing trees and in an area where planes go over quite low, do you think that has any effect on it?
No, that's a good question. And we get asked that a lot in terms of maybe possible pollution or even the sound of it. It gets rather loud, definitely if it's a large plane flying over. We haven't really noticed any problems with the trees or anything else in the garden in terms of growing. And we have a little pond, a little lake back there, and we do this great thing with school kids where they go in as a science experiment. They test the water, they see what's living in there, and the water quality is actually very, very good. Where there's lots of active life in there. It's a very clean water source. So if whatever pollution that would be there is not getting the water, I don't think it's getting to the trees or the other plants necessarily. The one limit we have here is because we're so close to the airport, there's a limit to how high the trees can get. So if it gets above a certain amount, then the PBI calls us and they like, hey, we see that tree in our view, you're gonna have to take that down a little bit.
Do you know what that limit is?
I think it's around 40 feet or something.
40 feet.
Yeah.
So the highest tree you have is under 40 feet.
Yeah, in the very back we have some pine trees and stuff, and you could tell that they whacked the top of it. That's just one of the things we have to deal with here, but it's also nice because we try to work with try to also showcase things people and homeowners can put in their backyard. Very few people want something that's over 40 feet anyways,
exactly.
So it affects the selection.
Exactly. Okay, well, I know what started first here, the fruit trees or the garden? Because I know the trees here are very old. So what started first in this area?
Yeah, there's a few fruit trees that were here before the garden was the garden, and we actually have some of those today that we're going to talk about, some very old trees.
So when those trees were first planted here, was this still a public property, or at that time was it private, and then you put the property here, this event place here, or how did that work? Were the trees before the extension, or the extension before the trees?
Well, yeah, as we mentioned, this was part of a research site, and so I mean, a lot of that was looking at like what could be productive agriculturally, and so Mounts Botanical Garden is actually named after Marvin Mounts, who was one of the main researchers and extension agents at the time, and then slowly, I mean, these things are interesting. You can like look at like how the property lines up actually. Like part of it went to the state, part of it became part of the county. It was a partnership. And so like there's actually an old DMV lot, which during the Mango Festival is, it's part of the state, but we're recently like getting them to interact with each other again and then like be on the same page through like a memorandum of understanding. And so it's kind of interesting, like this partnership or dance between like state and county. But I mean, basically for all intents and purposes, like this site is a county site now.
Okay, when I first moved to Florida over 20 years ago, I actually changed my driver's license at that office. It was a driver's license. So I know the garden was here and the office was there. Now, what about the airport? What came first, the airport or this place?
So technically this spot, I mean, County Extension has always been here. For a long time, this was just farmland, but back in like the 40s all around here. This was actually the site of like a cow pasture. And then, as John mentioned, Marvin Mounts came here and then started testing different fruit trees and things like that. Later, Palm Beach International came, perhaps around the time that Mounts Botanical Garden first started becoming Mounts Botanical Garden. It was, I think, 1986 was when the official name Mounts Botanical Garden was adopted. Before then, it was Mounts, like Horticulture Learning Center, and then it wasn't. Before that, it wasn't really. It was just part of Extension. It's just kind of like grown into its own thing as West Palm Beach has also just grown massively over the many decades.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know when it started? Like I assume at one point this was all a dirt road out here. Were the trees, when they put Military Trail in, did they have to knock down some trees of the research center?
Military Trail's been here forever. I don't know. Do you know? It's the history of Military Trail. It's been a long, long time. It was probably dirt road for the last 100 years ago, yeah.
I'm a history buff, and I heard that they called it Military Trail because the military literally used this trail.
Oh, yeah. No, I believe it. I mean, I don't want to talk about something I don't know, but my guess is probably has something to do with like the Seminole Wars or the Spanish Wars or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Now, you're in front of a giant tree here, which is right in front. I don't believe this is a fruit tree, but it's a massive tree. What kind of tree is this?
So, yeah, we've got a live oak here, one of the bigger, more long-lived species we have in the area. They're great for putting on like epiphytes. You can see like when you go through the garden, you'll have various orchids and other types of plants that can live on other plants, like wrapped into place, and we're trying to establish those on there. But yeah, and then also what we've got here, we've got our Monstera. So I think like maybe this is like our first showcase here of something edible.
Yeah, this is a Monstera deliciosa. That's actually a fruit.
So yeah, this is the fruit now. It's not ripe yet, but essentially when it ripens, the outside right now has this exterior that's not edible. It's filled with like a crystalline kind of cover, which makes it, you know, if you were to chew on that, you'd start feeling kind of like all this tingling in your mouth. Not good, but underneath that, around the seeds, is like a very soft, rich pulp that tastes, I hear, like a mix of like pina colada and mango and stuff. It's a very tropical flavor, which is really delicious, actually. But this is essentially just a very popular landscaping plant in the garden, everywhere around here. Not many people know it is edible. I mean, the second part of the name, deliciosa, it kind of says so too. So now, it's a great plant.
Whose decision was it to plant this here? Because it does, I don't know if it's an invasive or whatever, but it kind of takes over really quite quickly.
Definitely, it definitely takes over. I mean, it does. does great in the shade, really fills out a space. But the leaf of the Monstera is also our logo for the garden as well. So this is a nice thing to have as people are entering into the garden. It's like our mascot right there in the entrance.
From an edible standpoint, can you do anything with the leaves, or are they just for beautiful show?
I'm not aware of that. No, I don't think so. They're very decorative. They're sold in like floral shops as well, and I think probably like half of all fake plants made have to do with the Monstera.
Yeah, because even though if you can't use the leaves from an edible standpoint, a lot of these leaves are medicinal that we don't even know about yet.
Yeah.
So that'd be quite interesting. But the fruit is amazing, but you have to eat it ripe. If you don't eat it ripe, it's not going to be good at all.
No, it's going to hurt.
Now, some trees in Florida are against the law to get rid of, or you got to get permission to get rid of them. Is that the case with historical fruit trees? Because I know there's some really big mango trees, like in the middle of like a modern city block. Do you know about that?
So, I mean, historical trees, it's going to vary depending on the ordinances where you're at. So, I guess I've got our arborist utility or urban forestry background. There's it varies quite a bit from municipality to municipality and county to county even. So, I mean, with that, if there's something that's considered invasive a lot of the time, there are no protections for a lot of those trees. But fruit trees, generally, there might be some exceptions here, but generally they don't fall within the invasive categories. And so a lot of times, if there's protections based on certain sizes, in place, there's probably some protection for that tree as well. So.
Great. Okay, show us around the other things. And as we're talking,
Do you want to head in the garden?
yeah, I want to show this. Me being a history buff, I love these old light poles because they're just so beautiful, and it shows you kind of like
the inside of this
how long these are.
Yeah, this facility, it was made in like the 50s or 60s, and so it's one of these things that it's come back around. It's really cool to look at it and the aesthetic of it now.
Very cool. All right, this place is filled with this Monstera. Now, who eats the fruit here?
The animals mainly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, up here no one really touches the Monstera fruit. It's mainly just used as an ornamental. But
I mean, are you against people having it like that? I'm sure 90% of people that come in don't even know what it is, but if some
I don't think anyone really comes here to harvest the fruit. I mean, generally we're against people picking fruit here at the garden, and that's mainly for aesthetic purposes too, because like let's say we have a tree with a bunch of fruit on it, and then someone were to come here and just clear it, then no one would know what that tree was, unless they had a background fruiting tree. So you want to put stuff on display for people to see and interact with and stuff like that. We will give fruits to like our volunteers, or if we're doing classes and things like that. But generally we don't want people picking anything.
Sure. Now, what if the fruit falls on the floor? Because I went to a fruit and spice park. They if the fruit's on the floor, they let you take it, but they don't let you touch it if it's on the tree.
Yeah, we don't we're not too strict about that. Yeah, if you see some fruit on the floor. But if I see someone walk around with like 20 mangoes, they're like, I found these all on the floor, and they're all green, I'd be like, sure.
All right. So.
Yeah, these trees right here are probably a great example of that because they are so accessible right next to Military Trail here. And they're really mature trees. These were trees that we believe Mounts put in, like Martin Mounts. And the issue is like they're very visible. People will climb up these trees very high and try and knock out the mangoes. And it happens like every mango season where it's like the police also patrol and like have to have a word or two with the folks that are climbing up the tree. But there are mangoes all over the ground when they fall down. We fully support people, if they find those, no big deal. You can pick up whatever you find. And mean, like, yeah, they're in various states at this point. They're like getting to mature to over mature, I guess you would say, in terms of tree speak. Like,
so these trees are super old mango trees.
Yeah.
We're just starting the beginning of mango season here on most of the newer trees, but these trees are old. And last time we were here, Alex from Tropical Acres was trying to identify which varieties these were. What was some of the name varieties he said? Do you remember?
oh man, you got them.
Yeah, some of them were saved. Yeah, so these were planted back in the 50s. Essentially everything that we attribute to Mounts we have in 1954, which is when he started establishing this. Some of them that we for sure have out here are Parvin, we have Irwin, we have Carey, we have Edward, and then I think that's it. And then there's a few others here that we just don't know. Maybe Alex was able to get a better idea.
He said the one at the very end there was probably a Zill.
Okay, he said the one on the end was a Zill.
Yeah, so these are the old-time mangoes. And
Yeah.
a bunch of red ones up there right now. There's a nice round one there. Now, your fruit trees, do you do anything to, like, how do you take care of trees that big? Do you spray them at all? Do you fertilize them at all? What do you
No. Well, these out here on the easement, they don't get a lot of attention in terms of fertilizing and stuff. We do have a tree company come in and trim all the trees on the property over the year. We usually tackle that at the end of summer once all the fruit's gone.
Those are sapodillas, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, we have 4 sapodillas in the parking lot. This is Silius wood.
Yeah.
It's
Is it Silas wood, or is it Silas?
Silas, I don't know, something like that.
Silas wood.
Silas wood, probably. This is known as a dwarf sapodilla. It's supposed to fruit in a pot. As you can see, though, they're not dwarf for very long once you ground them and all. So the fruit's a little smaller, but they're fat and happy, I would say.
Yeah, that fruit's great. I actually been to the guy's house, Silas Wood. He sold it to somebody who has a farm on it now, and I've been down there. That's a great tasting, great variety of sapodilla. So you got some palm trees here, and then there's another sapodilla here.
Yeah, so many of the older fruiting trees, some of the first on the property, are all going to be up front here. And again, that's just because the proximity to the extension building right here is where Mounts would walk out and start planting things.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to point them out here or once we get closer.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, this whole row. Yeah. This whole row here is a lot of mature fruit trees. Obviously, there's other things in here that are not fruit trees, but I mean, it's kind of hard to show what they are like from this perspective. We're going to get closer to them here and show you what they look like from the trunks. They're very, very mature trees relative to what you see a lot of the time in Florida.
Nice. Besides fruit trees, they have these beautiful ornament, little flowers and trees. This place is amazing.
Yeah, it's a tree bougainvillea. So everyone knows bougainvillea. It's kind of like a really hardy vine and stuff, but this is the tree form of it where it forms a standard, and then this time of the year during the summer, it's just really full of
Now we just
blooms.
missed the Queen's Wreath too.
Oh yeah, Petrea.
Yeah, this is
like the southern wisteria, essentially. You can kind of see traces of the purple flowers, but you would come to Mounts, you would enter in here, and actually right off the bat we see some of the oldest trees here. So we have a sapodilla again right here.
Another Silas Wood.
Yeah, I don't believe it's the, it might be another Silas Wood. And then back there, actually, that's another sapodilla, but that's something original to the site. Kind of that big bush right there. And then next to us right here is bale fruit, which was actually also planted by Mounts in the 50s. And bale fruit's a really interesting fruit. It's not something usually seen here over the United States, but it's a very important, culturally significant fruiting tree to like Hindu cultures in India before. Like the fruits regarded with this very sacred cultural significance, but it's also used to make juices and candies. It's a very, I haven't had it before, but supposedly very good tasting fruit as well. And the leaves are edible too. We actually had someone from one when the Buddhist or Hindu societies come here and collect some branches for their ceremony
Really?
and all. Yeah. But yeah, very cool tree, and also this thing's at least 70 years old too. So
Wow.
it's been
Do they have to be cooked, or they can be eaten raw? You
I
don't
believe
know.
that. Yeah, no, the leaves can be eaten raw. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. And here's the name on many, not all, but many of the trees, the fruit trees.
Yeah, it's in the citrus family, actually.
Oh, it's in the, since it's in the citrus family, no problems with leaf greening or anything?
Not on this one. No, definitely not.
And then there's the Monstera on the bottom.
You can actually see here, hanging. There are the flowers, very kind of citrusy like, right?
Yeah. So this will be coming out soon, huh?
Yeah, probably at the end of the summer you'll start seeing some fruit.
Very nice.
So here we have our ancient sapote.
Wow, look how big this is. I'm so glad I'm doing this video because this might be the biggest sapote in the world, possibly. This is huge.
Yeah, it was planted so long ago. Again, at least 70 years old. We know that. But planted with no variety name. Maybe some of the first
seedling, maybe.
Yeah, seedling, but probably some of the first to come into the county and all.
And how does it fruit every year?
It fruits pretty good. Again, it's so tall, I don't think anyone tries to go and reach it.
They fall when they're ready, right?
Yeah, it'll falls when it's ready. And as we come around the corner here, this is actually another one of the old fruit trees. This is a white sapote.
Wow, white sapote. Let me see the label to this here, because so white sapote. There's no variety on this, right?
Oh.
From Mexico, no variety.
No, I don't. I think that this was probably just something that they brought in and wasn't really commonly used.
Now, in my opinion, this is the most underrated fruit tree in Florida. It's well known in California as well. I have a tree now that's loaded, and I don't see any fruit on this tree. This is an amazing fruit, and it's not popular because they can't ship well because they get really soft.
This one is it's a mango for sure. It's a Thai mango. We can tell kind of by the shape of the fruit there, but this is a seedling that had come up and it was just never taken out. We have another one actually just over there, seedling of some sort, perhaps off of Bailey's Marvel, which is a tree we have over here. It is very similar looking. But yeah, here's the tree of this unnamed one. So yeah, it's got that signature elongated shape of like a Namdok Mai or something like that. But again, it was never recorded as being put in, and chances, for a long time, this area of the garden was kind of like not touched and we've done so much work here within the last 20 years, so it's kind of a mystery. We did back in like the 2004, 2005 hurricanes and stuff. Mounts got hit significantly. We lost about 70% of our canopy.
Wow.
So during that time, the garden was closed for almost a year, just cleaning up the place.
Did you lose a lot of fruit trees?
Probably, yeah. Again, I wasn't here around then, but it was significant for sure. And I can't imagine we didn't lose some. And that's also another downside being next to the airport is you have a total flat place where wind can just come through, and then where's that wind going to go? Oh, it's going to go right across military and slam right in all the trees and stuff at mountains here. So it got hit pretty bad.
Wow.
And then right here we have the canistel, I believe, the egg fruit.
Yep.
Makes a delicious custardy tasted fruit. It really does have the same texture as a hard-boiled yolk, but really sweet, really great one.
Is it a seedling or a variety? Do you know?
This is probably a seedling of something. Again, one of the older trees. I'd say everything that was planted prior to the 90s didn't really come with a variety name. But I will say everything that was planted in the 80s, I mean, we have a close relationship with the Rare Fruit Council here, and they have their meetings at Mounts, and they used to host a fruit fest here. But they've donated many, many trees over the length of, Mounts being a garden. So this is one of them, actually.
So yeah, here's the black sapote. I mean, one of the interesting things about it is that, and I think that there might be something about how it got the common name, is that it often does take on a very dark hue with the wood and the bark. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's in the ebony family too. I don't know what it's like on the inside, but it's a, that whole genus and family is noted for having really colorful hard wood. But the big thing about this one is that, and if you can, I don't know if you're able to pick this up, Paul, it's got these fruit that are coming in right now. And this one produces, I don't know if we've ever ID'd it like we talked about, this is an old tree, but I'm not sure if we've ID'd it to a cultivar level, but these are very, very large fruit. And I kind of wonder if it's not related to, or maybe even is the same cultivar for some of the more well-known ones out there. I've seen a lot of pictures of the Matt Snow cultivar, and this looks very similar. So I kind of wonder, and I know that also Gene Joyner, he was an extension agent here for many years. He has a site that he lived on. It's relatively close by, and people knew him for some of the fruit that he promoted as well. So I kind of wonder, maybe he got his trees from here, and so. But yeah, when these are mature, man, they're just huge. I mean, they're bigger than softballs, and I know that these vary a fair bit based off of quality and size, and I think that this one is one that definitely has both of those properties. And I mean, as you can see, they just turn into a nice, lovely tree if you've got room for it. I mean, it's just great to have. I've shocked my family and friends that have come by when I've had access to the fruit here and taken it back and had them try it. And I mean, yeah, I guess you guys have probably covered this in your guys in other episodes, like trying this one out. But I mean, chocolate pudding is a little bit of a misnomer. It's kind of more like dates or I mean, maybe not quite as rich as chocolate, but I mean, it definitely does. It's really good to mix sometimes with a little bit of cocoa powder or something. But I mean, I think we were talking about it before, Palmer, like if you could imagine, being like 500 years ago, the first Europeans that came here and tried this thing out, it blows our mind sometimes thinking about it, that this would have been something that people would have been eating. It has a wide distribution. It probably played a really big role in people's diets that were native back then. So
yeah, it's what John's referring to is it's known as chocolate pudding fruit. So people that get it might think, well, I'm eating a fruit that tastes like chocolate pudding, and it looks like chocolate pudding when it's ripe. You have to eat these when they're very ripe. So keep that in mind. And the unique thing about the black sapote is it's one of the few fruit trees here that ripen and are ready to eat in the winter time, because most fruit is the summertime or the spring. But this one and also sapodilla will ripen in the winter time. Well, sapodilla is all year, but this one,
gonna be a bumper crop.
Yeah, you got a lot on there, and it's amazing at this stage how they look almost exactly like a persimmon.
Yeah.
But
yeah, little green pumpkins almost.
And some people say they're like astringent persimmons because you can't eat these unripe. You gotta wait till they get ripe.
Oh yeah, don't. I would anything in that family. I don't think that I would eat unless they're ripe, unless you want a really dry mouth.
Well, the Asian persimmons, you can eat those unripe.
Oh yeah, yeah. The ones that, some of the ones that stay firm. Okay. But yeah.
Very nice.
Anyway, this is one of our highlights. It's in a little bit secluded part of the garden. But anybody that's into fruit trees will probably appreciate running into this tree.
What's up with the holes in this tree?
I mean, it's just old. It's an old tree.
Yeah, these were probably limbs that were broken off or removed, and then that's just the hollow bit. You know, chop there, chop there, chop there, chop there, chop there.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the way trees work a lot of times is that they don't heal up like we do. They have to seal everything, and then if they can't seal up quick enough and like decay gets in there, when that forms, it might be too late. And so you can see here, that's what happened. There's some decay in here. Hopefully the tree, they've got their own chemical defenses. They may have walled off a fair amount of what was going on in here. And so different species have different abilities to deal with decay. And so, I mean, you'd have to go, we don't have any idea that like how the extent of it, but it's in an area where there's not a lot of people. It's probably pretty structurally firm and you could see like, it's got a fair amount of wound growth here, and like this right here, it's like support, you know, this type of growth you're seeing. So
sure, very cool.
So right here we have a Malay apple. It's a Syzygium, same family as clove and a few other tropical fruits here. But this is Syzygium malacensi, which the Malay apple, which is usually come in like a very vibrant pink color, which we thought that's what this was, but it only produces white fruits for some reason. So it's a rare variety that just produces solid white fruits, and it's a very interesting tree. It's a very beautiful one when it's flowering too, because it's cauliflorous. On the branches, I should say, not the trunk. And cauliflorous means it doesn't bloom at the ends of the leaves or the long branches. It blooms along the heavier, woodier stems. So this thing will be filled with like really fragrant white flowers, like all covering the thing. And then it'll mature to the fruit, which you can kind of see them hanging. It's related to like the June plum and stuff like that. They're not mature yet, but they'll turn like a big fleshy white. And I
hear it's very popular in the Caribbean.
Yeah, definitely. And if you turn around, you have a breadfruit too.
Oh wow!
So 20 years ago, probably around then, you couldn't grow this outside here in West Palm Beach, but here it is, not missing a beat at all.
Has it ever fruited?
No, it hasn't fruited yet, but it's definitely reaching a lot larger size and getting more mature.
Do you know what variety that is, or is it seedling probably?
Probably a seedling. This came from somewhere out in Loxahatchee. I think this guy just didn't want to care for it anymore. He donated to the Mounts with no name. And
how much care do you need to give this one? Do you just let it stay?
Just let it stay. Yeah, let it stay. I mean, they're easy enough to trim. They do have a wax you have to be careful of. I mean, it's not dangerous. It's just kind of sticky and messy and things like that. But in the summertime, though, it can be very fast and vigorous, and also very popular in the Caribbean and stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, it says that one tree can feed a whole family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got some kind of a seedling mango tree here.
Tell people about the breadfruit real quick. The reason why it can grow here now and not in the older days is because the temperature gets warmer now than it used to. You have more success growing this south of here because it's even warmer, but once it gets to a certain temperature, these trees can die or definitely not fruit. So now some people might grow it up in Jupiter, but you really can't grow it too far north here in Florida. Okay, back to the seedling.
Okay, yeah, seedling mango. This one produces some mangoes with some very decent size to them. However, it's one of these ones that it's a seedling, so it's pretty. We think that the parent is a Bailey's marble. So yeah, you could see.
So it's eaten, but you can kind of tell the general size of it.
Pretty big, wow.
And yeah, so like they can be pretty good sometimes, but other times this one comes out kind of pumpkin-y. I'm not really big on pumpkin tones or like my mangoes, but it just kind of depends like on like when you pick them in the season and the environmental stuff going on.
So this is a candle what is it? Yeah, candle tree, and they call it candle tree because on this trunk of the plant will bear the seed pod that looks a lot like. This will turn bright yellow, and it'll look like a lot like a waxy candle hanging from the trunk of the tree. Yeah, we have one here that's definitely overripe and all.
Is that the edible part?
So this would be the edible part. It's got a very astringent flavor. I would call it more of a famine food than anything. Yeah. But it is edible, and it's related to like the calabash tree, where it's also the big like kind of circular fruits that grow on there. There's another one in the genus. It's a Parmentiera. This one's Cerifera, but there's one it's aculeata, Parmentiera aculeata, that makes like a big, almost looks like a giant red okra, which tastes a little better. They call that one cucumber tree. That's right,
so
cucumber
on this, do you eat the pods inside there, or do you?
Yeah, so you would eat their seeds. You don't eat the seeds, but you would eat the kind of yellow flesh right here. But I don't recommend it because I tried it and it's very, very astringent and vinegary. It's not great, but it's a really cool tree, especially because it blooms on the branches and it has these beautiful pods that hang down. And when it's really full of fruit, it's just like all these long yellow noodles hanging on a branch. It looks very odd and interesting, yeah. And this is also a tree that's been here for a very long time.
Kind of a Dr. Seuss tree, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we try to showcase that here, and the garden is, you know, there's such a wide range of plants that can grow in our subtropical region. So if we can highlight a few of those, get people inspired, maybe, you know, get them hooked on plants, or they're already, you know, interested in plants and different ornamentals and they want to bring them into their homes and their yards, they can. Like, this is hopefully like a space where they can see that.
Well, and it has, right? Like a lot of the people that have been on Paul's channel, I mean, they come here regularly and like they've been inspired and like Zane, for instance, like you're friends with Zane.
Yeah, right? Zane grew up here.
Yeah.
We have plant sales 4 times a year, and he has a booth every time in that corner here. But he's always come by. I saw him yesterday. Yeah.
So this is another big chunk of the garden where there's a lot of mature fruit trees. So I guess just to go right into it here, we've got a jackfruit. Let's see if there's a cultivar. No.
We don't have any cultivar information on jackfruits.
Yeah, but you know, it's quite prolific.
So you just let them rot on the tree? You don't even take them off?
Well, it depends. Sometimes they try and grab them. I mean,
you get them in time. Yeah, we try to get them in time. I don't think a lot of people here like jackfruit, unfortunately. I love them, but and so do a few other people who work here, but you know, only so much jackfruit. You know, this thing, you can tell how much fruit it bears, and this is only one of 2 trees we have here on the property too. But I
mean, you gotta keep in mind like the mission of the garden. Like it is demonstration and education. Yeah. So I mean, like I know that edible landscaping is becoming more and more of a thing, and like we're just happy that there are a lot of these edibles that are mature here, because in a lot of gardens they just completely like left those out a lot of the time because they are a lot of maintenance a lot of times. So,
well, people have no idea if they come the other times of the year when these aren't fruiting, how amazing this looks. But this is everybody a jackfruit, an old jackfruit, and there must be at least maybe 30 or 40 up there, and these grow up to 50 pounds, some of the varieties, and this is amazing here of what they got. And there are some, the reason I asked this, there's some brown ones up there, and that means they're way overripe.
Way overripe, yeah. So this one was planted in 2000, so we've got a 24-year-old tree here.
Wow.
That's her. And then right next to it, we have the Brazilian cherry, or Grumachama.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, nice big one. They're popular ornamental hedges, probably not as popular as they used to be, but they're usually trimmed and maintained to a point where you never see them fruit or flower. This one has just kind of been let to grow to a mature size where it can bear quite a bit of fruit. And we actually just missed the mass flowering it had. Just beautiful white flowers covering the whole thing. And what's really great, but in some cases inconvenient about this plant is that it goes from flower to fruit very quickly, and the fruit ripen very quickly as well. Like all fruit ripening happens probably like in a month or so, maybe even.
So we'll
around there.
fruit multiple times a year?
Only one time a year.
Once a year, and if you leave this hedge size, you can get a good amount of fruit if you leave it hedge size.
Okay, yeah.
But you got to get them quickly.
You got to get them quickly because it's just going to be full of fruit that all ripen at the same time, but a very kind of delicious cherry flavor, kind of maybe blackberry-ish too. But it's in the Eugenia genus, which a lot of other cool fruiting trees are, mainly from Brazil too.
And everybody, be careful if you're eating this because sometimes they get worms in them. Sometimes. Oh wow! Wow, you have a May Americana. That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is
I didn't know you have that here. Look how big that is, everybody.
So this is this is the Mamey apple, mommy apple, and it man, it's a really impressive tree. When I first came, I guess some might call it infamous. Like it's really in the middle of like fruiting here. We have to like kind of put a barrier around and keep people out because it could be a little hazardous walking underneath this tree later in the summer. And it's already putting out some fruit now.
There's fruit on there. Wow.
So, and I don't know. I kind of wonder about the origins, like that there's only a couple of like cultivars in Florida. Like I think that one's called Redlands.
Yeah, Fruit and Spice Park has one called Redlands.
And I kind of wonder if this is the parent tree for the one that that they call West Palm, I think is the other one. So I don't know. I know that this is probably one of the more mature ones in our area. If you can get the fruit from this tree, if you come across it on the ground, like this is probably like one of the gems of the garden.
And keep that in mind, everybody. This fruit is ripe when they already fall from the tree. If you pick it off the tree, it's very hard to tell when they're ripe. But when they fall, then there's a good chance they're ripe. Yeah, this is an amazing tasting fruit, and I featured it on the channel many times.
Totally underutilized, like just from eating and even for a landscape tree. As long as you're not putting it right where there's going to be cars or something. I mean, it has the aesthetic of like the southern magnolia. I mean, it looks a lot like a southern magnolia, which is a very highly desirable ornamental tree. But we're at the very lowest part of the country where you can grow that tree. But this is really happy.
Now this is popular in the Caribbean, very popular, but here it's very unknown, but it's all over the Caribbean.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, it's definitely, especially with the climate, like, trends, this thing might be moving all the way up different parts of the coast here. Oh, we even got some of the flowers here. Yeah, and get close enough to see those.
You can see the bloom right up here. Yeah, these are probably last year's fruit, and they stay on. These are probably last year's fruit, and they stay on long enough to where once they ripen, then the flowering kicks right in right then. Right behind you, we actually have a longan, and
wow,
this is a very old, large longan tree, and actually in 2019, it was nominated as the Florida State Champion longan tree. That record was, or I believe, officially still held by Gene Joyner, who passed away last year. But his tree in his backyard is, from what I understand, the same size or maybe even a little bit smaller. The person who was in charge of judging state trees, I believe, retired, and they haven't actually replaced anyone there. So we haven't had anyone to confirm or check, really. But one of our pride and joys here.
Does it still fruit?
No, it doesn't fruit very often at all.
Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you go down Forest Hill Boulevard, it's all longan trees. It used to be
from an old orchard grove, yeah.
Right on the street. And you go right under it. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Look at that. Wow.
It is a great one. And we also have another one down there that was planted around the same time. Not as large, though. right next to that, we have a Spanish lime.
Oh, good name.
It's a male one, male Spanish lime, so it doesn't produce fruit. But you know, maybe one day we'll graft some female branches on
now,
there.
if you have a female one, they still need a male to hibernate or no?
Yeah, they need a male and a female together to produce fruit. But what, you know, places like South America or Central America that will produce Spanish lime, even here in Florida too, they have a male tree, or even if they have a female tree, they'll graft the opposite sex of the tree onto the plant itself. So essentially you have a tree there that produces male and female flowers and then can pollinate itself on the same tree and then thus get fruit, which is a great method in terms if you don't want to, you know, take up too much space with two giant trees, you just kind of graft them together.
And so everyone knows this is another popular Caribbean fruit. You see people on the side of the street selling these in plastic bags.
Yeah. Always at the middle.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, I think they're both in the same family, that Sapote, I think. And then I think that, you know, that's the, what do they call it, soapberry family. And so they're actually in there with maple, oddly enough. And so, yeah, lychee, longan, Spanish lime, they're actually somewhat related to each other. And then so I
wonder if they knew that when they planted them.
It might have been.
Maybe, yeah, a little curation going on. And then over here we have our large tamarind tree. And then right next to that, a very old large patumba. Another Eugenia.
Wow.
Yeah, that one was also planted by Mounts back in the 50s.
And are any of these fruiting?
This one had just done fruiting not too long ago, a few months ago. The tamarind, yeah, it's got fruits up there. You can kind of see them hanging around.
Tamarind or no?
Yeah, it should be a sweet tamarind.
Nice. Look how big that is. Wow.
And then in the way back, and you can see another sapodilla.
Where's this one?
Right here, this is the patumba. Yeah.
This is Patumba.
Yeah.
And so everyone knows, we're just looking at the trees here today, but this place is amazing with other tropical plants and just amazing gardens. So I definitely recommend you come here. I'm going to put the link below.
Yeah, we've only seen the 25% of it probably.
That another longin?
Yeah, another longin.
Wow.
Planted about the same time as the other one, I believe. Just something about the one that we just saw that's way more vigorous.
We're actually in the what's this garden? The fragrance garden.
Yeah.
So
fragrance garden.
So I mean, you know, it's kind of a sensory thing. There's some edibles in here.
Well, I saw, is that a lang lang over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so that, when it's in season, will give a wonderful perfume smell.
Yeah, so this is Russell right here. It's one of the new avocados. Recently, we've done a lot more avocado planting. It's just something that we enjoy growing here, and the horticultural manager here, Matthew Boyson, is really fond of different varieties of avocados. And so the other horticulturalist, Joel Crippen, too, is done a lot of sourcing. How does this get watered? We have sprinklers over here.
Okay.
Yeah, just average sprinklers and rain, of course. This is definitely one of the
nice
more
spots to grow an avocado. Yeah.
Oh yeah, real brutal.
You got a fig tree here?
Yeah, this is a Black Mission.
How does it do out here?
You know, not as great as if you were up in Central Florida. You know, it doesn't get that cold here, and it needs those chill hours, I believe, too. Or
yeah, the brown turkey does better down here, I think.
Yeah. Okay, but it does have some fruits on it now, kind of tucked up top. I have tasted them before. They're not as big or juicy as a Black Mission usually is, but we try. That's the thing too, is we're always experimenting with different varieties here too, different fruiting trees, and we've failed out a lot of things, or not so much failed, just things that don't work here we find, so we try something else. This is one of my favorite fruiting trees. This is ice cream bean, an Inga, and it makes these pods. It's in the Fabaceae, so in the bean family, so you can kind of see here what looks like a big, soft, woody green bean. But what's going to happen is when this is ripe, it's going to just swell up. Right now it's really thin, and inside are going to be black seeds, but around those black seeds, yeah, so that's an old pod right there. But around the black seeds is a very like soft, almost fluffy kind of pulp around that. And on this particular tree, it tastes like cherry Coke, or sorry, vanilla Coke. It tastes like vanilla Coke. It's like the most delicious flavor. And you just crack open the pods and just snack on that all day. But in South America, where it's from, it's used in like drinks and things like that. It's also great for interplanting with other ornamental trees. With other fruiting trees, if you have an orchard or something, because being that it's in the bean family, it fixes nitrogen in the ground. So it's a nice companion plant that'll also pretty much fertilize your other plants naturally.
And this is not too old. They grow really big, this tree.
Yeah, they can get really big. This is another tree original to the site.
Oh, is it that old? Okay.
Yeah. And it's definitely been trimmed and managed and things like that.
Yeah.
But
are those the flowers?
Yeah. So yeah, those white frilly things are the flowers, and then those will be pollinated, and then they'll produce those beans, and it probably fruits about 2 times a year, random intervals. It doesn't seem to have like a season. It's just like more like a time thing goes by.
How many acres is the whole garden here?
We're 20 acres.
20
Yeah, we're 20 acres. And we have 25 unique gardens, all of them a different theme.
You got a mango there, right?
Yep. That is what we have labeled as a Malika, although we're kind of unsure on the idea of that right now. We're going to wait till the fruit matures a little more. And then behind you, we have a Bombay on the left.
That's the Bombay.
And Bailey's Marble.
Okay, so
right.
Do you ever get any mangoes on Bombay?
Yes,
people down here don't.
Both these trees last year had a lot of mangoes. Bombay, yeah, we will get fruit on this one. At least last year we did.
Both of these are super big trees, and if you don't have a small yard, don't think about it.
Yeah.
That's Bailey's Marble, and that's Bombay. Probably one of the best tasting mangoes in the world, Bombay. And Bailey Marbles isn't too bad either. But how old are these trees?
You know, I have that written down right here. They were planted as pretty big trees, I believe.
You trim these trees. Oh, you have to for the.
Yeah, these were planted in 2015, but they came in 200-gallon pots.
Okay.
So they were pretty large trees when they came.
So which one is this?
Julie.
Oh, so this is Julie.
Oh, nice
so this
big size Julie. This is big.
Yeah, so this is one of the dwarf ones, right? So, I mean, it's got a fair amount on it this year. I think last year we had even more, right?
Yeah, I've read that they can be hit or miss in terms of fruiting, but in our experience, and we have 2 trees, they've always set fruit, and they keep to a nice size too. Yeah, Julie's a great one. You know, it's fiberless, sweet. I wouldn't say as good as, say, like Bailey's Marvel or anything, but very nice fruit. I mean, if you like mangoes, you can't go wrong.
People from the Caribbean love this fruit.
Yeah, Julie's great. I can't recommend enough. Yeah, so here we have our little starfruit grove, our carambolas. This one right here is Maha. It's a white flesh variety coming from Hawaii. Got a pretty good flavor, pretty sweet. But next to it we have a Fwang Tong. Yeah, Fwang Tong, which is an Asian variety, but bright yellow, super delicious, very juicy. I can't recommend that one enough. And I think UF recommends that one too in terms of like flavor. And then in the way back, we have a very large tree of Thayer, 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 and I think that's how you pronounce that. That one's not that great in terms of flavor. I say it's kind of astringent, very acidic, but it's one of the heavier producing ones. So I guess it'd be good more for like jams or preserves or things like that. But yeah, we like starfruit here. In terms of
shade, because they're in a shady spot, they still produce in
shady spot? Still produce. Doesn't seem to bother them at all. they're just tall enough to reach some light up top, and that's enough for them to produce down below. So they'll make a lot no matter what. And everyone knows carambola will fruit constantly here in South Florida, constantly.
Oh yeah.
And then actually right here we have another fig tree, different kind of fig tree.
Wow.
This is called Roxburgh's fig, Ficus roxburghii. And it makes these figs, these funny looking things, right on the trunk of the tree. It's a tropical fig. These are actually edible right here. They're not ready yet. They're still unripe, but they'll get larger and swell and turn that like classic purplish brownish.
Do they taste
color.
like figs?
Faintly. It's kind of like a watered down fig, I would say. But
I might have been on a farm that had one, but not this tall.
yeah, no, this one's very big. It's trying to get all the sun it can. But yeah, really, I think it has a lot of ornamental appeal too. You know, just something odd. You're like, oh, it's a huge fig and it's right on the trunk. I don't usually see that. And then, so along with all these plants, we also have our Garcinia corner. So like right here, we have Garcinia Livingstonii, and this is something from Africa. It's related to, you know, Gambogi and things like that. That would be from the Gambogi. Yeah, this one needs a male and female to produce. Unfortunately, we have a male plant here, so it doesn't really produce fruit. Every so often, it'll shoot out a random female flower, and maybe we'll see kind of like these orangey yellow fruits. But it's a very cool tree, very low growing, and just how it branches is nice. And right next to that, we have the Gambogi here. And you can see the fruits right there. That's an old one. That's one right there.
Yeah, I recently had those.
What'd you think?
I don't remember. I don't think it was anything special.
No,
if I remember correctly.
I would say it's sour to the point where it's inedible. Sure. It's a very, very sour, tart taste. Some people like it, but you know, kudos to them. But it makes this beautiful yellow color when it's ripe, and it's actually used to make dye that's used to make Buddhist robes. If you ever can picture mine, like a Buddhist wearing that very bright yellow mustardy clothing and stuff, Gambogi has been used to dye those robes.
Oh, wow.
So has some cultural significance there, definitely within Asian cultures. But this thing will also be chock full of fruit when it's in season. We just got done with it, but at any one point there was usually 100+ fruit on the ground, just rotting. Again, unfortunately, you know, it's not fruit we can utilize here, but at least we can utilize it in terms of educating people what it is, how it's been used, and things like that. And then right over here we have Aki. You want to talk about the Aki?
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the great Jamaican fruit tree. You can see we've got some various stages of production on this one. And this is another one, I believe, that's in that same family, the Sapote. And so, yeah, this is just kind of cool just to see a mature tree of specimens of this one. So it should be pretty accessible. It's in the event field here. You can look up and just see some of the fruit.
Yeah, it's a very big tree, and it's red when it's ripe. Yeah. Now, it's not this tree. This is something else, or is that a seedling?
No, that's a seedling. Yeah.
Okay.
Seedling that came up.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing with Aki is that you eat it when it's unripe, it's poisonous.
Yep.
You eat it when it's overripe, it's poisonous as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, underripe and overripe.
I didn't know that. I knew when you did underripe because the gas is still in there.
Yeah, and overripe as well. It'll also be poisonous.
How do you know it's overripe?
When it's, I guess, imagine brown, not as good. The only part you can eat is the aril, and that's the kind of fleshy part attached to the seed. Everything else is just the case for it. So when it's kind of open and stuff, you want to pick it off the tree ripe, yeah. And that's how you know. And that's how you can be positive that you know. But yes, part of the national dish of Jamaica, saltfish and Aki.
Yes.
Which is very good if you haven't had it before.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, I guess the interesting thing is about this little corner of the garden here is we're going into like an area that wasn't really planned out as well. So like, and it's kind of ironic, I guess, that the ackee tree is right here because it is poisonous under many conditions. But there's a bunch of other poisonous things in this corner that might, at first glance, not look like it. So I guess we'll point that out here.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we got strychnine right behind us.
What is that?
Strychnine tree. Strychnine is a infamous poison.
Yeah. So we don't discriminate here. There's plants for everything.
Is there a flower that comes off it or a leaf? How's it poison?
I believe that's a good question. It might even just be in the leaves or the roots or things like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Probably everything.
Probably everything, yeah. I guess it used to be used more often as a poison when people were still using poisons and stuff like that. But and then right next to it we have a Crozia elliptica, also called Copsia, but Copsia is something else.
Is that poison?
Yeah, so it produces these red fruits, which are, they look kind of appealing. They almost superficially look like a unripe ackee. But yeah, those are very poisonous.
That's good to know. What's it called?
A Crozia.
Because if I was
we don't have
somewhere on the street and saw this is something.
Yeah, it's an ornamental tree. I've seen it in at resorts and things. It's very salt tolerant, very tough tree, so people like using it around the coast here and stuff. But the fruit, no.
Okay, even if you cook it.
Yeah. I don't even think it's tasty. Yeah.
Well, the thing about, a lot of these things that have red berries, like they're geared towards birds a lot of the time. Like primates and birds are some of the few animals that can see red. We're unique as far as mammals that can see it. And so a lot of times red things actually aren't that good for us. It depends. Obviously, like some of the most delicious things are red, but a lot of times, like it might be kind of a warning for us.
Yeah.
Nightshade, right?
Yeah. Well, we like a lot of things in that family, but when they do turn red, but
the weedy nightshade.
Yeah.
Do you guys have miracle fruit here?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
we'll
amazing.
Come by some of that. Yeah, that's also red. Here's our rainbow eucalyptus tree.
Oh wow! Look how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
More myrtaceae.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Wow, the colors in that.
Please don't plant them in your yard. They're an invasive.
Oh, wow,
they're beautiful, but we sometimes,
Escape.
Yeah, technically they're not supposed to be sold because of that. This tree here, well, I guess this is something if you wanted to come back at another point. This is called butterfly tree. Like during a couple months in the spring.
Which one?
This one right here.
Okay.
It just puts out tons of orange flowers, and like this is the only place I've seen one of these, but it's really happy here in this garden. It doesn't produce a fruit. It's in the passion flower family though. So it's a close relative of passion flower that actually turns into a tree. And if you ever have the chance to come by, like in the early spring, I think late January to early March, this thing is just loaded with flowers.
Yeah, in the winter time.
So here's Yerba Mate.
It's a good spot.
Yeah. So this is in Ilex. It's in the holly family, and the same genus as a lot of the other hollies we have. It's actually a close relative to Yaupan. So that's our native one that we have. So that's called Ilex vomitoria. This is Ilex paraguayensis, like Paraguay. And they use this as for is it mate, the drink?
Yeah, well, it'd just be yerba
mate. Yeah. So we've got our own version of it that people use here, and it's kind of a blooming industry with it. Ilex vomitoria, which is quite a misleading name. It actually makes a very similar caffeinated beverage if you ever have the chance to try that. And then, where's miracle fruit?
Right here.
I'm gonna pass it off here.
Okay. Yeah, so right under our yerba mate, we have a little miracle fruit tree. As you can see, it has little tiny flowers right there. Hopefully they'll make some fruit pretty soon in the summertime. This is a great tree, amazing for our climate. It's from Africa, so it can take, our intense heat and even some drought. It likes a little bit of shade, but you can do a good amount of sun too. And I mean, for anyone who hasn't heard about the miracle fruit, what's amazing about it is it produces a little red berry, and you eat the berry, and within, I think, an hour after eating the berry, if you have something sour like a lemon, it'll taste sweet. And which is so odd and fun to do if you come across some. And it's something in the chemicals that actually bind your tongue, and they block certain receptors. So you start eating something that's sour and you can't pick up on it. You only pick up on the sweet notes.
Absolutely.
Like that.
In my yard, I eat more miracle berry than any other fruit in my yard.
Yeah.
I have 5 big giant trees of this.
Do you have just like bags of lemons around? I want some lemonade right now.
Yeah, I actually take the berry and then I drink lemon water.
There you go. Yeah.
Lemonade.
Tastes like lemonade. It's a good trick. I know it was looked at for a while as this like cool trendy dietary supplement or something, but I don't think it ever took off.
Well, they give it to people that have chemotherapy because they lose their taste and they need to eat, so they give them the miracle berry.
Oh, that's great.
And now they're starting to powder it and sell it. So
yeah, I think it took a while for them to develop that, but
and it can freeze for a little while, but it loses some of its changing the sweetness effect, but it has a little still.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a great one to have. If we want to talk about more trees here, we have the peanut butter fruit.
Oh, yes.
Again, just flowering right now. We're coming to summer where a lot of these fruit trees are going to start.
Well, that fruit, that small?
Yes, definitely. And we have a larger one in the back too, but it makes a kind of a big orange fruit like that. And if you eat it, it tastes like peanut butter, and which is great news for people who have peanut butter allergies. It's not one-to-one by any means in terms of flavor to peanut butter, but I'd say it's relatively close.
I think it tastes real close to peanut butter. It's amazing.
Pineapple, of course. And right here, growing on this trellis right here, we have vanilla.
Vanilla, yep.
Vanilla bean. And we actually pollinated it. And let's see if I can find some. We used to have pods on this thing.
Yeah, it might have gone disappearing after.
Someone might have picked them. That happens here. But anyways, it makes like these big, at first green pods, and then once they're dried and I guess in that terms ripened, you would pick them, let them dry some more, and then that could be used to make a vanilla flavoring. And right next to and it is an orchid, I should mention. It's in the orchid family, so the flower, it makes a really nice big yellow flower that's fragrant. It looks just like a Cattleya orchid or something like that, a little different. But it's very vigorous, will climb all over the place. We have it on a couple trees here. It's like a low-key invasive in the garden, but it's also so pretty, so we let it be. And if we have time to hand pollinate it, we will, and then get our own vanilla, which you can do in your own home, actually.
Yeah, and to that, you mentioned it being like almost like a low-key invasive. They're actually looking into hybridizing some of the varieties that are for production. The University of Florida is teaming up to potentially use this as an alternative crop, something that might have potential here in Florida for an industry. So it's kind of exciting to see that kind of evolve right now.
Yeah, it's the most expensive spice in the world.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was just vanilla. No.
It's good to know it grows well out here.
Yes. Then we have cacao right next to it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How does that, has this fruited?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this fruits consistently.
Oh, wow.
We can probably see.
Because sometimes you need a lot of warmth for it.
Yeah, no, this one, you can see some old pods up there. Yeah. They're black, but...
Pods when you're out here, I thought.
But it'll make these yellow pods all the time, essentially. I think it's kind of coming to it right now. I don't know if you see any flowers or anything?
No.
Yeah.
I swore there were some young pods on it.
There's an old pod. No, there's some pods up there.
Oh, yeah? Okay, but yeah, it's a beautiful tree, of course, from the tropics. Oh yeah, it's okay.
Very
it's
hard to
flowering a
grow
little bit.
here unless you have a.
Yeah, if you have a covered area with some added moisture. Oh, yeah. Bunch of little flowers on here.
Yeah.
And the new leaves come out kind of like this orangey red. It's a very pretty tree too. It does enjoy, yeah, warmth and moisture in a covered spot and all like that. But I find in South Florida they do rather well. Definitely closer to the coast. Right now we're at the back of Mounts Botanical Garden, and this is essentially the main food growing area. We have, of course, the fruit trees scattered out all the garden, but this right here we have the vegetable garden, and behind that and around it we have the tropical fruit dooryard garden. And what a dooryard garden is, if you don't know, it's just the idea that you could walk outside your back door and then there would be a small fruit tree garden where everything's trimmed or manicured or arranged in a certain way where you don't have to climb a ladder or pick anything. It's all there for the residential convenience of a tropical fruit yard. So yeah, I figure we just kind of go through some trees.
Absolutely, I'm excited about that because I do a lot of small yards and people want to have that low density stuff.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, right here we have another avocado. I mean, that's one of our smaller ones growing. And then surrounding it is the Everglades tomato.
Yep.
And this is a weed. We just kind of let it grow because it's a tomato that's seemingly just part of Florida at this point. It comes up every, I'd say around February or so, and then just kind of grows and grows and bears tomatoes without the need of any, sometimes without any of any fertilizer, of course, but sometimes without the need of any extra irrigation. Delta.
And you got so that's a chocolate avocado in there.
Oh yeah. We have another
Grumachama. Yeah.
Yeah, this one doesn't flower, but it's just trimmed so often. That's probably the reason why. We have a red finger lime here.
Okay.
Great thing about finger limes is they are a citrus that's resistant to citrus greening. So that's something that should definitely be.
Now, is that watered with a sprinkler?
Yeah, so everything along here is watered with a sprinkler. I don't know,
So how long has that been in the ground?
limes? You know the finger limes. Sorry?
How long has that been in the ground?
This has only been in the ground for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the new one from the UF?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, native to Australia, just a really interesting plant. And if you ever have a chance to try them out, I mean, they're like a little pod almost, except fleshy pod, and then on the inside, little tiny citrus.
Looks like caviar.
Yeah, bubbles of citrus. Caviar, like, so yeah, just a really cool one. And so this is one of the UF releases. I know a friend of mine at the USDA has a bunch of germplasm like that like of all different cultivars of it. And so there's a lot of things that are out there, but this is the first stuff that's actually making it out. It's made it through.
And keep in mind, everyone, that one has thorns, so keep it in mind.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's a great one. I just got several of those.
If we want to...
Cassava.
Yeah, cassava.
Name them.
Yeah.
Cassava.
Cassava. You know, pretty much a low effort crop if you're into that. And into the flavor and cooking with it.
For the roots too, or?
Yeah, pretty much just the roots is what you would ground up or bake or however you like. This sad looking thing is sugar bell. We need to treat that one, I believe, for thrips or whatever, but that is resistant to greening, citrus greening.
So, but what happened then?
Probably some thrip action.
Okay.
Yeah, different pest.
Looks real thripsy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The everbearing mulberry, dwarf everbearing, although you can see it gets a moderate size, but this one, although not the best in terms of a mulberry flavor, it does taste good, but not as sweet as others. It bears fruit all year round, so you're getting that trade-off. Instead of, say, superior quality, you get quantity all the time wherever you want. And this is one of the fruit trees that actually we encourage people to take from, because it's nice. People here, they can taste a little something, and this thing always has fruit. It's never not going to have fruit, even with everyone coming by.
It's always loaded.
Always loaded, yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Very nice. And I know do you trim this back or does it stay small?
It stays pretty small. We'll trim it every so often, but rarely. Then with this one we have to trim a lot. This is the Pakistan.
Yeah.
Pakistan mulberry, they grow long. Yeah.
Yeah, they get really tall and leggy.
Interesting papaya.
Yeah, papaya. It was doing pretty good last year, but
It's
I think we
interesting
need to
how it's coming
replace
out
it.
like that.
yeah, it was growing tall. It got too tall. It was cut in half, branched out a bunch. It was cut again. So papayas are pretty indestructible sometimes, and then they're just gonna make more and more. They're actually kind of weedy, it seems, but it's a nice thing to have in your yard.
What did we figure out what this one was? Or
Yeah, I wrote it on there.
write it down.
It's Articarpus, so it's
oh, that's right.
yeah, so it's in the whatchamacallit, the jackfruit family.
So some jackfruit relative.
Kwame? Kwaimonk?
Yeah, I think so.
Kwai
Some
monk.
Kwai monk
Yeah,
or something like
maybe.
that.
That's in the jackfruit. It's small.
Yeah, and it stays small. This one's never
Well, they get
fruited,
big.
flowered.
The fruit is small, but they
Pretty
get
small.
big.
Okay, so yeah, we don't have a. It was a mystery for us for a long time. Someone planted it and then he left.
Jabba de Cabo.
Yes, Jaboticaba. We love a Jaboticaba.
One of our one of the other highlights if you can find them for sure. So yeah, another
Have the patience.
yeah. So another one from Myrtaceae. It's got that beautiful bark. It happens to you can see some of the little flowers on there. We got a number of these in the garden, but I think they're kind of past at this point in terms of production. But
I go through the summer.
There's a couple that you'll get some
twice in a year. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Well, everything you just showed recently will grow in a pot.
Yeah.
And fruit in a pot. I don't know about the papaya, but the other ones will fruit in a pot.
There's definitely papayas that will.
Yeah, so everything you just showed, this is a truly backdoor yard garden.
Yeah, things are small.
So we got some avocados. Did we figure out which cultivar this was?
Simmons. Looks like it might
this
be
one's
Simmons.
this one's just Americana CV. Yeah, this one's unlabeled.
Okay.
The others are like you saw the choquette over there, and then we have a
Yeah, well, there's some on there, so it's going to be an early season avocado.
Yeah, some kind
And
of.
everybody, you can keep this tree is loaded, but you can keep it small. Remember that, when you plant.
some Adamoyas.
Oh yeah, we're in the Annona area.
How do they do the Adamoyas here?
They do not. I mean, in my experience, I've only been here for about 2 seasons now to see it fruit. They make some. They're kind of smaller. They make some fruit. They're kind of smaller. Not the production we would want, but we're also not maybe taking as good as care as say someone who had a few in their backyard would in terms of fertilizing them and water. We tried to do a hard prune this year at the beginning of this year because all the branches were so crisscross and unorganized. So I think by next year we'll see a lot better results.
And they'll do better when they're pollinated by hand.
Yeah, definitely. Spanish olive right here. Spanish olive, at least this far south, it will not make any fruit. Unfortunately,
there are some olives that will make fruit.
There are some, and I know more up north they're more prone to it. But we have a Greek one and a Spanish one here, and we've haven't been so lucky with either one of them.
We got another jackfruit.
Yeah, another jackfruit tree right here.
You know which one that one is?
This was another unlabeled variety, but we believe it's juicy fruit. It's a kind of a juicy fruit tasting one.
Wow.
This one will make a ton of fruit. And then we have our banana collection here.
Do you know what varieties these are?
Yeah, so those are labeled for the most part. We have a 1,000-finger banana right there, which is an amazing one. You can kind of see a small thing of it.
Is that old or new?
So that's pretty new.
Oh, wow.
So,
they're going to come out. Wow.
Yeah, so they're coming out. So the amazing thing about a 1,000-finger banana is that stem can get like 4 feet long. And it's just a bunch of tiny little bananas all packed in together real tight.
How do they taste?
I haven't had one yet. Okay. That's the last one that we had last year came down in a storm. So we weren't able to try it. But I imagine not as good as say other varieties like a blue Java or something.
Sweetheart banana.
Yeah, so that's the one against the fence. That one's very good. Sweetheart's great.
Red banana.
We have red. Nice ornamental look. Right here in the middle, we have a Saba banana, which is from the Philippines. It's a hybrid.
Plantain?
It can be eaten as plantains, yes. It's also good ripe too. And yeah, really incredible fruit, very delicious and super prolific. I mean, we don't really thin this thing at all, and it just grows and grows. You know, if we take one out from the middle, it'll fill that space in automatically, and it's probably got like 6 heads on it right now, this whole clump. 6 banana heads. And it's huge. I've had so many people ask me, like, is that a banana? I'm like, it's got bananas on it. They're like, I never seen one that big. And fair enough. And here we have a Mysore banana.
Mysore, yep.
And actually, we have some ripe fruit.
Look at that.
There you go.
Mysore banana.
So
That is the best tasting banana.
Yes, and a perfect snack banana. Because, you know, sometimes people don't want full banana. You get one, you know, it's like the size of your finger. You just pop that in. We have a dwarf Cavendish.
Well, that's apple manzano. Oh no, apple dwarf Cavendish. You see, there's a with the name apple. It's interesting because there's a manzano banana. But now they're calling the dwarf Cavendish apple, and it's getting quite confusing in the market.
Oh,
because the manzano tastes like an apple and it's known as the apple, but the dwarf Cavendish is, I don't know how people named it that, but they're 2 different things. So if you go to order an apple banana, if you look online, it's quite confusing right now with that.
What were you saying earlier, John? Don't trust common names? Don't trust the common names.
Yeah. But I mean, but then for these, you have to go to, you know, the little hyphens. Like,
the cultivar names.
Cultivar, like that's a whole nother tricky thing because, like, it might be almost the same thing for a lot of them. You know, like, okay, this one's called High Noon. Well, there just might be a noon out there or something. So that can get really tricky as well to keep track of all that. But thank goodness there's people out there that really care about that, almost like fruit historians, kind of like Alex from Tropical Acres. Yeah. So I mean, let's see. Yeah, more bananas. Right there. Do we got any?
Fruit? right above. It's right here.
Oh yeah,
sweet. What did we say this?
Malika.
So this is a Malika.
This is a Malika. This is a real dwarf mango here. It stays a small tree. It produced reliably last year and did so this year when I didn't think it would. So this thing's usually loaded.
It just says dwarf Indian.
Dwarf Indian and Malika, which is a hybrid of Dashery and Nalum. Fiberless, sweet, just what you want in a mango. Another avocado, I believe this is the seedless, Wilson seedless.
Wilson seedless avocado.
Yep. Yeah, Wilson seedless. Right next to it, we kind of have like a medium dwarf mango here. This is Cogshell. Personally, my favorite here on the property. Like a very sweet, like almost sherbet ice cream tasting fruit. It doesn't have any fruit on it this year, to my dismay.
Very disappointing.
Very disappointing, I know.
Last year, it did really well last year.
Yeah. But, yeah, one of the great tropical ones, originally from here in Florida. And then, yeah, then we got a couple more Plinias here, some different jaboticabas. We have the red hybrid down on the end, which is a great one because it fruits the earlier than, say, like a Grimmel or any other variety. And it's just faster growing too, you know? So you get fruit sooner and then a fuller tree sooner as well. Then we have another one right here, or this is the just regular jaboticaba. Again, not sure on the variety name. This one's a pretty old plant.
I just remember the name. That looks like a Neelam.
Neelam?
Neelam.
Okay.
Look it up because I'm pretty sure that's a Neelam.
Malika is a One of the hybrids of Malikas
yes,
and Neelam,
but it's a bigger fruit. Neelam looks just like that one, and they grow in little bunches.
Okay. And then this one's a Grimmel right here.
So is this area much more recent? Because it looks
so a lot of these are more recent. I think a lot of things are being changed around here, or have been changed around here a lot within the last years in terms of different fruiting trees and things like that. The jaboticabas are definitely some of the newer additions to this place.
What was that mango?
This one, I think this one's another Julie.
Julie, okay.
Yeah, another Julie. And then the John right now is playing around with is the blue grape, which is, you can see from all the fruit here, has kind of these bluish grapes. And this is pretty much a sister species to jaboticaba, but it has a very thick skin, much thicker than that. And then if you break it open in your teeth, you can see right there, got that kind of white flesh, but a much bigger seed than you normally see. And too big to swallow like you usually would in jaboticaba, but you can just kind of suck on it, and it's got a nice sweet flavor to it.
Blue grape.
Another star fruit here.
Oh, look, you got Chinese guava.
Yeah, Chinese guava. This is one of the best tasting guavas, in my opinion. Like these kind of like medium-sized yellow fruit, super delicious. You have to be careful of worms with them. That's part of it. But if you can pick them just before they're like super ripe, you'll be okay. And they do form very kind of attractive trees with this multi-trunk, different colored bark. Again, it's in like the myrtle family and stuff like that, so it acts as, it has those ornamental variety or values as well, elements. Yeah. Oh, this one's got a fruit. I've never seen that. Got a lemon drop right here. Fruit coming in, makes these beautiful little yellow fruits. Another Garcinia, but this one's much more delicious and edible. Then we have our larger peanut butter fruit right here.
Wow. So that's peanut butter fruit. Wow.
Yeah, this one right here.
And it fruits.
And it fruits, yes. In the summertime, later on in the year, it'll be loaded. Bright orange fruits. A couple guavas right here.
I like this new area.
Yeah.
Got moringa here.
Yep.
Okay.
And moringa. Tree of life.
Custard apple. Wow.
Yeah, nice custard apple going. This one has borne some fruit in the past. Yeah, not as much as we would like, but it does pretty okay here.
All right, everybody. That was this amazing tour at Mounts Tropical Gardens. And I hope you learned a lot. I learned a lot. These great guys behind us took the time out on this hot day to show us around. But these gardens are open 6 days a week, right?
Yeah, 6 days a week, closed Mondays.
Yeah, so try to get on out here if you're in town. Right across the street from the West Palm Beach Airport. You could literally take an Uber here in less than 5 minutes. And put your comments and questions below, everybody. And if you have any of these trees, you have questions about these trees, hopefully you got your answer in this video. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody. Until then, have a great day and keep growing.